Hi, this video is going to be about EREV, or extended range electric vehicles. Two of the finest electric vehicles on the road. It just so happens that those two vehicles happen to be built by General Motors, the Chevrolet Volt and the Cadillac ELR. These are in fact electric vehicles. I'm going to speak specifically, I'm going to zero in on the ELR, but I believe what I'm going to say will also apply to the Chevy Volt. The ELR is an electric vehicle. It's a front-wheel drive vehicle. The front wheels are driven by electric motors. When you press your foot on the accelerator of the vehicle, you are not increasing gasoline flow. You're increasing flow of electricity or current flow to the motors that turn the front wheels. So gasoline, the miles per gallon as we measure it in other vehicles, doesn't necessarily apply to these vehicles, doesn't necessarily apply to these two vehicles, because these are truly electric vehicles. The car does not care where the electricity comes from. The electricity can come from being plugged into a standard household electrical outlet, or the electricity can come from the onboard generator that it carries under the hood. The gasoline engine is a generator. It generates electricity to give power to the motors that turn the front wheels. It's electric motors that turn the front wheels. The two cars are designed so that it appears to have a radiator on the front, and I think General Motors decided, or Cadillac as well as Chevrolet decided to do that so that the automobile's appearance is not visually shocking to the general public, because we're used to seeing radiators in the front of vehicles. Speaking of radiators, that reminds me of energy, of these cars being so efficient. These cars are extremely efficient. They're so efficient that I am almost obsessed by them, because my first electric vehicle was a Chevy Volt, and I decided that I'd rather not have a four-door. After the ELR came out, I purchased an ELR, and it continues to do exactly what the Chevrolet Volt did for me. That is, give me the option or afford me the luxury of passing a gas station. Approximately once every 2 to 3 months, I may put some gas in my ELR. I do not fill it up, because I'm concerned that the gas will get too old. And speaking of gasoline, I'm glad to see that the manufacturer of the ELR, Cadillac, they recommend in the user's manual that we use top-tier gasoline. And when I had my Corvettes, that's something that several of us usually did, was look for manufacturers that adhere to the top-tier standard. The top-tier standard of gasoline, as I understand it, is manufacturers who adhere to the top-tier standard, they manufacture gasoline. Well, the additives that they add to the gasoline surpass the minimum requirement by the government. Several of the major automobile manufacturers have gotten together and decided that the government does not, let me say that over again. The requirements for additives that the government has set does not do enough to keep the car running cleanly, to keep the engine running cleanly and efficiently. So therefore, when I was in the Corvette Club, we decided it might be a good idea to go ahead and look for gasoline that adheres to the top tier standards. Okay, I talked too much about that, more than I wanted to. But getting back to the ELR and the Chevrolet Volt, two of the finest electric vehicles on the American road today. They're the finest electric vehicles on the American road today because these cars were manufactured by an American company. And I love that. Now don't get me wrong, Mazda RX-7s at one time used to be my favorite car. However, today is a different day, and if it's not manufactured by an American company, then I don't particularly like it, because GM, through its Cadillac division and through its Chevrolet division, are manufacturing two of the finest automobiles on the American road. Now, getting back to the operation of my ELR. Let me see. I think what I said was, when you step on the accelerator, you're not increasing the flow of gasoline to the engine. The engine actually is an electric generator. It's a generator that generates electricity for the electric motors and the automobile. So when you step on the accelerator, what you're increasing is the flow of current to or through the motors, I believe. Okay, you're increasing the flow of electricity. Now, the flow of electricity is current. And when the generator or engine, gasoline engine, is running, it runs at one constant speed. It runs at one set speed as designed by the engineers to generate electricity. It doesn't matter what speed the car is moving at. The speed of the car is independent of the speed of the generator when it's running. The car runs off electricity, period. Doesn't matter where that electricity comes from. That electricity can come from being plugged into the standard household electrical outlet, or it can come from the engine that is under the hood, which is the generator. And that's the main topic that I wanted to cover. Thank you for watching. Something I failed to mention earlier while outside of the vehicle was I run my ELR the way I understand the manufacturer wants it to be ran. That is, I plug it in when it's parked at night, and as a result of that, my gasoline mileage is my lifetime gas mileage is 85.1 miles per gallon, and it just continues to climb. The more I use the car, the more I use this automobile in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendation, the higher my lifetime miles per gallon goes. Now, on the last time I drove the car, you'll see I drove a total of 12 miles, and I used zero gallons of gasoline. Yes, 0 gallons of gasoline used. The green circle is an indicator that I used only electricity, or I used electricity that was stored inside the power supply from the car being plugged in. I did not have to use the car did not use the engine to generate any electricity. I've misspoken in a couple of my previous videos. I used to say I ran only on electricity, or I drove on gasoline, and I inadvertently misspoke. The car always uses electricity. It doesn't matter where the electricity comes from. It can be coming from the built-in from the power supply when the car is plugged in, or the electricity can come from the engine. The gasoline engine is a generator. It will generate electricity when the power supply needs it, freeing me, the driver or the user, up from having to be concerned about where can I plug my car in. I don't have to plan my trips or my driving based on available electricity. The car generates its own electricity if I do not plug it in. Now, if a person owns a Chevrolet Volt or a Cadillac ELR and you do not plug the car in, then you're not using the car in accordance with the way it was designed to be used, and you're not freeing yourself up from the financial burden of having to buy gasoline every single week. The advantage of having this car, the Cadillac ELR or the Chevrolet Volt, is I am free from I freed myself from the gasoline pump every week. I go every 2 to 3 months and put in some gasoline, usually about half a tank. And a half a tank in this car is about 4 gallons, 4.5 gallons. But my lifetime average miles per gallon is 85.1. And I generally, in my mind, I've been trying to predict when I'm going to pass a certain threshold. And I'm not going to go ahead and verbalize it here because I'm usually off. I don't drive enough to very quickly pass 100. I think sooner or later I'm going to pass 100 miles per gallon. My lifetime average is going to go over 100 because I use the car the way it was designed to be used. I plug it in, and the EPA estimates obviously are way off.